before he did Star Wars, I had just finished Rocky, and
You know Sylvester Stallone as the man who never went down. Rocky, Rambo, the underdog who always got back up. You admired the grit, the loyalty, the unbreakable code, but you were wrong about what was happening, off camera. At 77, the full story is finally coming out. 6 Hollywood names Stallone never forgave, 6 betrayals that shaped his career, his silence, and his rage. Some called him paranoid. Some said he was the problem. Some laughed behind his back and collected the paycheck. Once you hear who they are, you'll never watch his films the same way again. 1. Schwarzenegger, the rival born from humiliation. On paper, they should never have crossed paths. Stallone was Rocky, raw, hungry, American. Schwarzenegger was a newcomer from Austria with a body carved from stone and a smile that never stopped. The 1977 Golden Globe Awards was supposed to crown Stallone's miracle. It became the night everything changed. Rocky lost, category after category, and there was Arnold laughing, effortless, collecting the New Star of the Year award, while Stallone sat in his seat and felt the room tilt beneath him. Insiders who were present that night said you could see it in Stallone's jaw. That specific tightening when a man realizes he's been publicly outmaneuvered. He snapped. He later admitted it himself, threw a bowl of flowers at his head. The 1980s became a Cold War fought through box office numbers. Rocky versus Conan, Rambo versus Terminator. Each film a missile aimed at the other. Even maneuvered Stallone into grabbing the terrible script for Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. Knowing his pride wouldn't have let him pass. Critics tore it apart. Stallone had been played. For 15 years, neither gave an inch, the press fed on it. Fans chose sides. The hatred was the performance, and both men knew it. Their war began with humiliation and ended, remarkably, in the one thing neither expected. Respect, but it took 20 years to get there. 2. Kirk Douglas, the legend who tried to kill Rambo. When Kirk Douglas signed on for First Blood in 1982, it felt like a coronation. Hollywood royalty, meeting new Hollywood muscle, the man who played Spartacus, standing beside the man who played Rocky. On paper, it was a dream. Within days, the set turned into a power struggle, had studied the novel obsessively, and he wanted the ending changed. Rambo had to die. He repeated it in production meetings. He challenged the script in front of the crew. Kirk Douglas wouldn't say this. Kirk Douglas needs a stronger ending. A production assistant who was present recalled the temperature dropping every time Douglas entered the room. Stallone, who had poured his entire vision of wounded veterans into this story, watched a legend try to reshape it into something else entirely. He went quiet, the specific quiet of a man deciding something permanently. Director Ted Kotcheff finally said it plainly. "This is the film we remaking. If you don't like it, you can leave." Douglas left. Richard Gere was called the same day, memorizing lines in the car on the way to set. His calm, fatherly performance gave the film its heart. Rambo lived. A billion-dollar franchise was born. Some actors care more about their exit than the story. Kirk Douglas became the man history remembers for almost killing what became a legend 3. Eddie Murphy, the friendship destroyed by a rumor. This one still stings, because it started with something genuine. In the late 1980s, Stallone and Eddie Murphy were inseparable. 2 men at the summit of Hollywood, sharing respect, parties, and the rare shorthand of people who'd have both clawed their way to the top. Then came Beverly Hills Cop 2 in 1987, and Brigitte Nielsen, Stallone's wife, was cast opposite Murphy. She was magnetic, impossible to ignore. Tabloids whispered. Crew members whispered louder. Suddenly, Stallone's name was drowning. In headlines he had neat chosen. A friend who was close to both men at the time recalled that Stallone's face, in those weeks, looked like a man who'd swallowed something that wouldn't go down. He picked up the phone and called Murphy directly. The question was blunt. Murphy denied everything, but trust, once cracked, doesn't reset. It just sits there, hairline fracture and all, waiting for the next pressure point. Parties became silences. Mutual friends chose sides. By the early 1990s, there was no friendship left to grieve, just an absence where something real had been. Murphy later called it sad that gossip could erase years of loyalty. Stallone never looked back. The most painful enemies are not strangers. They are the ones who were once in the room with you. 4. Richard Gere. A mustard stain that never dried. It was 1974. Neither man was famous yet. The Lords of Flatbush was just a low-budget film that might give them both a foothold. Everything Stallone needed was in that production, and everything collapsed over a sandwich. Gere came from theater, precise, methodical, cerebral. Stallone came from hunger, instinctive, physical, territorial. One crew member who worked on the film said the air between them in even the smallest scenes felt like two frequencies jamming each other. Then came the cramped car scene. Gere's sandwich. A drop of mustard landed on Stallone's pants. Without hesitation, Stallone elbowed Gere in the head and physically threw him out of the vehicle in front of the full cast and crew. The set went dead silent, called it creative differences. Everyone on that lot knew exactly what it was. Gere was fired. The story spread through Hollywood before either man's career had even properly begun. Decades later, still avoid each other. The mustard-stained Stallone never allowed to be cleaned. Some feuds begin with ideology, some with ambition. This one began with condiment, and Stallone made sure it never ended. 5. Bruce Willis. The brotherhood broken by greed. The Expendables wasn't just a film. It was Stallone's love letter to an era, a gathering of action legends giving fans one last ride together. And at the heart of that brotherhood stood Bruce Willis. Same generation, same code, or so Stallone believed. By 2013, Expendables 3 was in pre-production. Willis's role was confirmed. His team sent over the contract. $4 million. 4 days of work, $1 million per day. No negotiation, no flexibility, no acknowledgement of what the franchise stood for. Someone close to the production recalled Stallone reading the number and going completely still. Not angry, not loud, still. Specific stillness of a man who has just learned something he cannot unlearn about a person he trusted. He didn't fight it. He cut Willis out entirely and called Harrison Ford instead. Then he did something almost unheard of in Hollywood. He went public. On Twitter, Stallone called Willis greedy and lazy. 2 words, they landed like a verdict. Overnight, the conversation around Willis shifted in ways that outlasted any single film. The Expendables survived. The brotherhood did not. Loyalty was the only currency Stallone ever truly respected. Spent his in one afternoon. 6. Michael Moore. The insult Stallone never classified as a joke. Stallone had fought through poverty, rejection, and 100 closed doors to make films that meant something to him. Films about soldiers, survivors, and the dignity of people the world overlooked. Moore specialized in targeting exactly those stories. When Moore publicly dismissed American Sniper, comparing it to Nazi propaganda, Stallone didn't respond in interviews. He didn't tweet. He didn't send a representative. A longtime collaborator who worked with Stallone during that period recalled him reading Moore's comments and simply setting his phone face down on the table. No expression, no statement, the quiet act of erasure. The room, one assistant said, understood immediately that Moore's name would not be spoken again in any professional context Stallone controlled. Moore insisted it was satire. Stallone's silence insisted it wasn't forgiven. There was no confrontation. That was the point. The silence itself was the sentence. Some men shout their contempt. Stallone just stops acknowledging you exist. In Hollywood, that is the colder punishment. 6 names, 6 battles, a side of Stallone the poster never showed you. loyal to a code most people in his industry abandoned long ago, and absolutely unforgiving when that code was broken. Which of these stories hit you hardest? Was Stallone right to cut them out, or did his pride cost him more than it cost them? Tell me in the comments below. And if you want more of Hollywood's untold rivalries, the ones they never put in the press release, subscribe and hit the bell. The next one goes even deeper.